Okay, good morning, everyone. So today, first I'll just mention kind of what's happening in our immediate area here. So we still have an ongoing storm situation in Ontario here. We have no power, so we're running on backup power at the center. So we have a plan in place if that power goes down. Tayama has a teaching video. She's on the other end of the country right now, so she can launch that video if anything happens, if the power goes down here. So hoping that will not be the case, but you never know what could happen. So I'd like to mention a few things. I have some things I'd like to talk about in the big picture unfoldings on the path, and talk a little bit about specific pointing in self-inquiry. We've talked a lot about the intending to directly experience your true nature. But I have some different pointers. They're really the same pointers, but different words, different teachings. So, but before we get into that, I'd just like to mention a few things. So, yesterday we moved really into the part of the retreat where a lot of big releases are coming up for people. So the samskaras, whatever's in the unconscious. Last night there was a lot happening. Sometimes there's traumas, these deep imprints, blocks, coming to the surface. So many of you witnessed a lot of phenomena coming up in your partners or within your own character. There can be, for the witness, it's, you're holding space for emotions, crying, laughing, expressing in all different ways. And there's some people who have a hard time just witnessing and holding space for others' emotions, going through this process. Some people, we've had a few people who kind of reached out, and I think it's good to address it in just a general way for everyone. Sometimes people see this happening, they see the emotion, and in our society, we tend to try and fix it. We feel that when someone is crying, there's strong emotions that something is wrong, but there's not something wrong in this dyad process. It's actually part of the process. So we had some people reaching out, just saying that their partner is in crisis, and it's beautiful because it's born out of a sense of caring. So it's not a problem. But I just want to really be clear that it's our reaction to emotions that actually creates a crisis. When we allow everything to be witnessed fully as it is, just allowing it, fully to arise and pass away, then we can be free. But when we resist it, and that evaluating, that labeling is a form of resistance. What we resist persists, as Carl Jung said. The reason for the samskara in the first place was that something happened in life, something with a big charge, and it was pushed away, it was resisted, it was pushed into the unconscious. So there was an initial resistance, and that's what stays in the mind and body as this samskara. So there was an initial not allowing. And if you react to your partner, if you evaluate, it's always the little mind evaluating. If you evaluate what's coming up for them, you label it as a problem, then you perpetuate that resistance pattern. And there's then, it's an opportunity that is missed. It's an opportunity to allow your partner to become free. So, quite often, and it's interesting, like our society is so, everything is sort of backwards. And, it's quite often people with psychology training or trauma training that will react when they see someone going through this process. Because in psychology, it's doing something different. It's psychology is about fixing the character. So there are many things, that they do in psychiatry, psychology, whether it's different modalities or the drugs and all of that. But, trying to calm the mind, the nervous system, and the goal is different. The goal in psychology is to make the character functional again. So to get it back into its role in the consensus reality, to make it stable, to return to that familiar pattern, so that the person can be a functioning member of society again. So this is a different goal than waking up from the character. So sometimes people will react, and of course it is born out of this genuine desire to help. But the evaluation and analysis is happening on the level of the conditioned mind. It's part of the skandhas, and so if you're evaluating through that part of your mind, then you're not like a mirror. So you'll activate your partner's conditioned mind, and so this releasing is happening. The energy is starting to become free, and then their mind gets activated, and it's like, oh, something's wrong. My partner's reacting. Oh, something's bad, and then you deprive them of that possibility of being free of that samskara. So this is why it's so important to be a neutral witness. So hopefully that we understand the mechanism that is in play here. And that being said, there are times where the facilitators will intervene. There are times where, but it's usually only when there's a true dissociation happening, which is something. There's certain things that make that clear. So a dissociation is when there's an unwillingness to feel and experience what's coming up. If someone is really doing this process, then there's no problem. But when there's that unwillingness to feel and experience, then then there can be sort of a split or dissociation happening, and there's certain conditions that make that more likely to happen. But at this retreat, we've done our best to kind of screen those conditions out. So, yeah, because for some people there's just other work that has happen first before we engage in this self-inquiry, other healing that will need to take place in this self-structure. That self-structure, in order to wake up from it, the psyche sort of needs to be relatively intact, because as we go through the letting go process, if it's not sort of whole and intact, it can kind of freak out or split, dissociate. Yeah, so it really just comes down to, allowing everything to unfold, I fully trust in this process. If we allow everything to be as it is, that inner intelligence or spirit, whatever you want to call it, is guiding this entire process, and it's only our ego reactions that turn things into problems. So yesterday I talked a bit about the jhanas and the stages of meditative absorption, the sabakalpa samadhi, these peak experiences, energetic experiences, and how we can fall into chasing different states, chasing sensations, chasing bliss. And it's very common. It's really, I see it as a stage on the path. It's like we learn to surrender to some degree, and we have these beautiful peak experiences, and it's almost inevitable that the mind will want to hold those experiences. But as we mature on the path, we start to let these states just come and go, and really come to understand, or come to know the one who is aware of all of these changing states. And when we're really, the sense of I is not identified with that changing phenomena, the sense of I is with that awareness, then we're said to be awake. We're awake. We're just allowing everything to be as it is. And so yesterday, it was about Sabakalpa Samadhi, and today I'm going to talk about Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which is considered to be the big Samadhi, the true Samadhi, or the highest Samadhi, and Patanjali called it Asamprajnata Samadhi. So, there are all these words that start out with the prefix nir, N-I-R, so nirvikalpa, nirvana, nirodha. These are all words that mean cessation, so a dropping away. And whatever comes after that, there's many different meanings. It's the cessation of vana, or the cessation of the kleshas, or the vasanas, or all these different Sanskrit words. But essentially, it's the cessation of the self-structure, which is made up of those skandhas. It's the cessation of delusion and identifying with the dream. So Nirvikalpa Samadhi, when we start to when awareness starts to wake up, we start to have these direct experiences. We can start to get little periods of time where that awareness is fully present. So Nirvikalpa Samadhi, it's considered to be the highest samadhi because it's very clear. If we have a true Nirvikalpa Samadhi experience, and I hesitate to use the word experience because it's not an experience. It's a true mystery, what we are. There's no experiencer in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So it's when if you think about what happens in deep sleep. In deep sleep, normally it's like the sense of I drops away. It's like I disappear. So in deep sleep, the mind and body are gone. There's no experiencer, no phenomena, no memory of what happens in deep sleep. So Nirvikalpa Samadhi is exactly the same as deep sleep, except that primordial awareness is awake. So there's this sense that that I haven't gone anywhere in that experience. But it's not an object I. It's not there's no thing there, but yet it's not nothing as well. So there's this sense of continuity, and sometimes at these retreats, people get these they have a sense that the mind dropped away and it came back, but there's been this sort of continuity. It's like I've been here all along, and it's a strange thing because sometimes people think they haven't gone to sleep. They've been fully awake the entire night, but yet then there's a memory of dreams, and it's like